Hey gang, Rod at East Coast Lumberjack, and I'm going to do part 2 today on hanging an axe. I've chosen a smaller axe. Mark dropped it off here a couple weeks ago. I'm going to show you what it looks like. This is the handle that we took out of it. So he had already had the wedge out. You see there's not much of a, it's kind of rounded on the end, and then it's chopped off right here on the front, which is quite peculiar actually. But of course the customer wants one exactly like it. Now what I did convince him of is actually leaving this little piece on at the front of the handle and seeing if it fit his hand a little bit better. So the axe head is right here. So it's your typical 2.5 pound, looks like a Canadian Tire Special is what it looks like. It's a good little axe. I'll put an edge on it for him. So it's nice and sharp and it leaves. It's in pretty decent shape, and it's got a big full eye, which is nice to hang. So all I did is I actually took his handle right here and I laid it on a piece of wood, my piece of wood like this, and I traced around it. So you can see here this handle, I left that little bit of extra here, and of course I traced around it the whole way up to the top and made it, cut it out. Now you can see this handle. This is a little bit different handle. I want to show you this because I didn't learn this till I was listening to a few other guys on YouTube explaining that these dark lines here, this is actually mineral deposits in hickory. So they won't affect your wood at all, and there's just little flecks here and there on the handle. But what did happen, or what I didn't notice until I got it all cut out, was there was a check here on the top. Now, it's come down, the axe head's going to stop right about here, and of course we've got a little split still below that. Now where that's in the eye, it likely would never bother, so of course that's one for that's one of my axes. That's what I'll put it in, because that way it won't bother anybody else. So that's a number 2. If it's not a perfect handle, it doesn't leave our shop. So that one we turfed it. took my handle again and put it on this one, and traced around it again the whole way to the top. I left a little bit more on the top of it this time. So that's the handle that we have, and of course I'm going to hang that. So we'll set you down, and of course it cuts the top of my head off, but that's okay because you guys actually probably want to see what I'm doing. So I'll take my jaws out, these little rubberized jaws. I'm going to put the handle in because this should be a fairly quick hang. Putting it in my Castillo vise. Love this Castillo vise. Actually, I can move this down just a little bit so that you can actually really get the best of both worlds. See what I'm doing and watch the handle at the same time. So, to our trusty spoke shave. And this handle, so I keep it right here on the bench with me. And it's very thin this way. It's actually, what I'd say it's narrow all the way around. It's quite rounded. All right, so I have that in my hand so I can feel what that feels like as I'm doing my handle. So I'm going to take off the edges that I've left on. My bandsaw, I put a new blade on the bandsaw, and it's not sure why it's leaving bigger ridges than it normally does. So I'm going to round it at the front quite well. I've got a little bit of a bump on that handle, so I always, if I see the bumps coming this way, I'll just take my rasp and straighten those out. So it's still a little bit wide, so I'm going to actually take a fair bit off and trim it down. Down here at the end is actually nice, or similar to what he's provided. So right here in the middle, it's a little bit thick. And I'll take a little bit more off right there. Make it as close to his handle as I can get it. That's usually not bad if you just keep trying his and measuring. I've got my caliper. So the other thing I can do, see, is take the caliper and put it on. So in the middle of his handle, we've got 1.3 inches down here, 1.2.5. So it's basically 1.3 inches by about 0.8 inches. Okay, gets up to almost 0.9 there. So all I can do is just measure here and see I'm 1.5, so I know I'm too wide there. I'm down here 1.4, so that's not bad. And this way here, I'm 0.9 already, 0.9. So I'm pretty close. Okay, I'm a 0.1 of an inch off width-wise. Depth-wise, I'm off just a smidgen more, 3 or 4 tenths of an inch. So I'm going to come around to this other side and I'm going to take a bunch more off the front. Because remember, we know we want that about, say, 1.3, 1.4. Both ways, so I'll forget here. Yeah, 1.4 there near the top, 1.3 near the bottom. So I've got 1.4 near the bottom, 1.6 near the top. So a little bit more off. And it doesn't take long with this rasp. You gotta watch it, you don't actually take too much off. So that quick. 1.4, 1.4, 1.5 at the top, so we're almost there. So now what I'm going to do is round it back out like he wants it. His is quite rounded, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to round it this way. So with the spoke shape, doesn't take long. You're going to get the full meal deal here on this video. You're going to get making the handle and hanging the head both. So it might be hopefully I can keep it under 20 minutes. And you can see how to do it all from start to finish. So that's that side. Now I'm going to take this and finish off around the knob. Palm swell. And his is nice and rounded, so I want to do the same thing. His is really rounded. See how it's really rounded off here, all the way around. So I know I can be a little bit more aggressive at the bottom there. And I've left a little bit more of a palm swell. Because once you get used to a palm swell that actually catches your hand, you'll never go back to anything else. And that's what Bob showed me. I get used to the big palm swells from the competition handles. But once you get used to them, you realize that where they have a mitten on, or just being able to grasp the axe and hold onto it well, that larger flare really helps with that a lot. And then you don't have to put as much strength in gripping the handle. And actually, as far as competitors go, they know that when you grip, we call it death grip in the handle, and it causes your axe to scoop in the wood. And that's why I'm training for. Last video I told you we were going to the Eastern qualifiers for Steel Timber Sports, and this old cat's 57 years old, and my boys are just in their 20s, and man, they are machines. And it just about it really kills me to do this stuff. Like you guys that are getting up there, getting a little bit long in the tooth like me, you know that the body does not. Your brain says yes I can, and your body says oh no I can't. I did well in 3 of the events, and the boys let me use. They've got a really wicked fast saw from JP Mercier, and they let me use it. And I finished 5th in the country in single block. I cut about 20% of the block. The blade cut the other 80. I just kept it going. So the chop went decent. The standing block and the stock saw. I was in there on those 3rd in the stock saw, and I don't know what I was 6th in the standing block, and I was pretty happy with that. But the underhand was brutal. Oh my soul, I'm slow. I watched that like I was 70 seconds chopping a 13-inch block. It was brutal. So anyhow, I'm back in training for that. So as I'm training, I'm going to actually do a few more videos on how to properly swing a 5-pound razor blade. So I'll do that in a few future videos. But for right now, I'm going to show you how to make a handle and hang it. So I'm going to get out of here. So I'm putting a good flare on it because I know when he feels this good flare, he's going to like it. So I'm leaving it wide out here and then dropping it off here quite pronouncedly. Okay, that's how you get the nice flare. So this side is just about done. There, we'll take our trusty Home Depot file and do this all up, smoothing out all those rough spots. Yeah, so and I think I told you we went, I did a little video clip on going down to the axe throwing at the Maritime Lumberjack Association meeting, and then they invited us back for Ryan McIntyre's hosting the World Axe Throwing Championships in Barrington, Nova Scotia. It's a long ways away, but anyhow, so I went back to that just to hang out with the guys, and I didn't wind up qualifying for that as well. So anyhow, I've got a couple of big shows coming up this summer. I'll do a couple of videos from them as well, so people that are interested can see what's going on at those things. So the first one is the National Championships for Steel Timber Sports. It's in Charlottetown, PEI, on the last weekend of July. So we're all going to head over there and do that. And then the axe throwing final, World Championships, are in Barrington the last weekend of August. So I didn't think I'd be able to go. But come to find out, the little engagement I had has gotten moved. It's been postponed again. So I'm able to attend it now. There. Okay, so it's not going to take long on the other side because we've already shaped it down to size. So been about 5 minutes on that side, and it won't take us very long to finish this side because we've got the right width now and depth, correct? So all we need to do is just finish it off here. All I'm going to do is round the corners, take out those big gouge marks that the bandsaw's putting in all of a sudden. So just a few strokes is all it takes. There's that back side pretty much done. And I'll take a little bit of now we've got a little bit of grain going each different way, so I'm going to go a little slower and take that out down here without putting big gouges in it. And that's always tricky, like when you're doing this, when you make sure you're going with the grain, because if you go against it you'll get these little gouges, and they leave that. If you want to keep the handle uniform, of course it's really hard to take those out without changing the contour of your handle, or the depth or the thickness or whatever. And then, and actually right here where it swoops in on the neck, this part right here, this is another place. So usually you have to spoke shave in this direction here and then spoke shave in this direction here to make those meet nice without taking gouges out. So usually always does that on me, on hickory, just so you know. Okay, there. So it's pretty darn close right there. It's a little bit wider up top. I'll go to this one and finish off the palm swell, and then we'll go right into the hanging. So again, I'm doing quite a pronounced palm swell, so he can feel what a good palm swell feels like in his hand. And then if we have to, if he wants that blunted off part, all you do is just a couple of little swings and that's going to come right off of there. So I want him to try it first with it on there and see what he thinks. And then I'll, if he doesn't like it, then I can just, you can always take wood off. You can't always put it back on. So, you can never put it back on. So always, I always leave a little bit more on. Same as when you get these, the tops of these, and you say, hey man, it's too big for my axe. Well, that's a good thing, because if I make it too small, your handle's useless. It's, you need to replace it. So, too big is good. Too small is quite a problem. You can't put wood back on. Well, you can, but it's a whole lot of work. And glue and everything else. Okay, so there. That feels pretty good. A little bit more pronounced right there. Okay. Rasp it up. Well, I can finish that later. Let me just do up top here, where the head's going to go. I can finish the handle up after you guys are done watching this. So let's just leave the rest of that. I can finish that, smoothing that out. So this is what it looks like on this side. You can see it's rounded here on the end like his was. I've got more flare here than he had, so that it fits actually in your hand pretty nice. And of course this is all nice and smooth right up here. And now we're going to put the head on. Okay, this side here I've left a little, as you can see, it's a little bit rough right there. I'm just going to smooth that later. So, put the jaws in the vise. So the first 17 minutes, for the record, are all making the handle. The last, hopefully 10 minutes is all it's going to take, is going to be to hang this. So I line it up just to make sure. Okay, so I have more than enough width, and I'll look on it right down the eye. I have more than enough thickness, and that's what you want. So when I send you a big top of your handle, that's a good thing. So like always, you can see here, my handles are all finished like this. Okay, so they're quite rectangular through here. I've taken the edge off back here, rounded it here, and I've brought a little bit more bevel up at the front. So now, because we know our axe head is shaped like this, okay, so most of the meat has got to come off, sloping this down this way and sloping this one this way. Okay, so we're going to put that teardrop back in that again. So, we'll put it in. Everybody knows what we're doing. If you're hanging an axe, this is what you do. So you're going to focus on the frontward part of the axe handle, where the head rests. So I've shaved that down quite quickly, okay? So 6 or 8 strokes, and see how much it's come down? Okay, so I'm taking that right down. So I'm focusing all right here is where I'm focusing that spoke shave. Okay, I watched this last time and I saw that it's pretty tough to see when I have it laying this way. So that's where I'm focusing. Right now is on that. And I'm going to go to the front and round it. Because I was a little bit longer than what the axe head was. And I'm going to go to the back and round it back here. And I'm going to see if it's fitting this way. So look at that. Pretty close, but I can take a little bit more. So I'm going to. So Mark, if you're watching, these are all the tricks of the trade to getting that head on there. There. So this side. So now I'm going to come back here a little bit more and gradually taper that into the axe eye. Okay, so that's that side done. So this is what it's looking like. Man, this Castilla vise is flipping awesome. Okay, so we've got that nice gradual slope into here. I'm going to flop it over, do the same thing here. Okay, we want that to look the same. Dog's barking, so if somebody's in the yard visiting. Nice little doorbell. she's part Australian Shepherd and smart as a flippin' whip. First female dog I've had, and males are pretty good, you know. They don't make a lot of fuss. Females come with a little bit of attitude. This female dog, just saying. Maybe it's just mine, maybe everybody else's are fine, but this one has attitude, just saying. So I've smoothed that off. Now I'm going to come back out here and focus, same place, on the cheeky part of your axe eye. There's somebody going up and down the stairs behind me here, but they haven't come in yet. Guess they don't want to be on camera. Okay, so flatten it out there. Come back here and bring it down. Sometimes you'll get, on your spoke shave, you get it filling up right there, so it won't cut as good. Okay, now I'm going to check my eye on here. So it's fitting at the back. Oh, it's fitting at the front too. Oh, almost everywhere it's fitting. Okay, so this, and when I try that, there's just a little bit right at the crest. So I'll take a little bit more off of this side. Around the front. There. And we're almost set to start that on. Okay, and you can see it grabbed a little bit right here. Okay, so I know right where I brought that up, right where it crests, I need to take a little bit more off of there. And then it's going to go on. So, take a little bit more there. There, now the head will go on. So we always make sure, usually you have a drop in the heel of the axe, that always goes down. So, put that there. I thought we had it fit, but maybe we don't. Maybe we got to take a little bit more. So it's pretty darn close, but still a little bit more. A little bit more needs to come off. Take that. Same thing again. Nope, we're not quite there. So we're not quite there. We've got to take a little bit more off. So let's look at our axe eye. Okay, so here we go. Now my kerf is in the middle. So you can see here, it's actually fairly even. There's a little bit more of a cheek here. And they're almost identical as far as how much are off each side, but there's a little bit, it's a little bit wider on this side. So I'm going to take that extra little bit I need to take off to get the axe head on. I'm going to take it off on that side. That's a little bit wider. Which means, and you can only do this if your kerf is perfectly in the middle of the handle. And I know sometimes I even miss that. So if you do miss that, look at the entire handle. Don't go by the kerf when you're determining how much to take off. Now I can on this one because it's aligned pretty close. It's pretty close to center. Okay. No, we're still just a little fat. So a little bit more off of that side. Now we're pretty close to being even. So I take a little bit off of each side now. So this is a smaller axe head. And because it is, when you get close, you got to start taking less off, okay? Don't get too aggressive, or you'll wind up, once you take too much off, then you're beat. So, okay, there, now it's on. Actually, whoo, I see Walters in this. Usually Walters is at the back of the axe, but it's actually almost halfway towards a bit. I can see Walters on this. Can you see it there? Walters. Right across there. So this is a Walters axe. This is a nice axe. No wonder he wants a nice handle in it. Okay, so there, it's on. So remember what we're checking again? We're checking heel, toe, and this part of the handle, that they're all in a straight line. So I'm going to lay that on the edge of my bench. And that they're not, this here sticks up a little bit. So I'm going to tip that axe head like that. Okay, I tipped it back. So if those are all, 1, 2, there, straight line now, okay? So I want to drive it on sitting like that. And then of course I want to look down the bit. Okay, and we're off crooked there, so I've straightened it up. And it wants to be straight in line with the bottom of the handle, which it is now. So once you line the head all up, then we're going to tap it. Okay, so now we're going to take our handle, or our hammer, and you don't have to really pound it. You just do it till it fetches up. Okay, so now you can see it's curling. Okay, you can see the wood curling here, wood curling here. Okay, so that's going to tell us what we have to take off. So, and it's not quite straight in line with my handle. Okay, so now that I've tapped it on there, my blade is sitting this way, and it should be sitting this way. So I've got to bring it this way. So to bring it that way, I have to take wood off this side of the handle. So take a pencil or a marker or something, mark on that. So now I'm dragging. Remember, I'm dragging both sides. I've got curl here. I've got curl here. Well, I want this side to actually ride up. So I'm not gonna spoke shave a lot off this side. I want it to actually pull the head that way. So I'm going to take my wood off on this side, because remember, my head's sitting like this a little bit, and I want it to bring it this way in line with that palm swell. So to bring it that way, I need to take more wood off of here to bring that head over. Okay? So, take my drift it out, and if you're hanging the head properly, your handle goes in and out a number of times. There. So, now we can look at it. Now remember, on this last axe, his head sat right down here, almost on the very top of the shoulder. You can see I've got a lot of shoulder here, right? So I got a lot of room to come down here. All right, even though it looks like I'm 2/3 of the way on right now, I'm going to bring that axe head down here a lot more. So I want to take a lot off of here to twist that head back around. Okay, so this is the critical part to hanging an axe and getting it straight and getting it right. So I'm going to take a lot more off. Well, a lot. Remember, let's not go crazy, because it's not a whole lot of eye here for this smaller axe head. So I've totally removed where it was biting, totally, and I've actually gone even farther than that. Now I'm going to take my file and I'm going to smooth it out down past where the head will sit, so it flows nice and smoothly into your handle. That is a key, and a lot of guys don't realize when you get these big fat handles, they're totally, well, I won't say they're useless, but the handle is then the strongest part. The weakest part is right here where it meets your eye. All right, so because your handle's big and thick, and then it comes right in tight here. So your handle is only as strong as the smallest part of the handle. So even though you can get a great big fat handle, but that doesn't mean nothing. You're still going to bust it, because the size of your the weak point is right here where the axe head is. The guys back in the day always had vintage handles. They were nice and thin. They were thin back here where you held them, so that the thickest part was up here at the eye. How often did they break handles? Not very often, because they knew they couldn't bend and pull and pry and use it for something it wasn't meant to do. Right? The whole thing is the handle just holds the head while you put it where you want it in the wood. That's the goal of it. So these big fat handles, and usually it's because people have a bad aim and they wind up hitting right here a lot. Okay, and that's what actually wears your handle out before it's actually done. So, always make it nice and smooth, a gradual transition right into your handle. And that way, this here will be the thickest part of your handle, where it meets the eye, and the odds of you breaking it are a whole lot less. So nice and smooth there. Okay, so I took a fair bit out of this side. Now all I'm going to do on the other side, where that's rolled up, is I'm just going to file it. So those little, because I want it to ride up on this side. So I want it to ride on one side and to fit tight, drop down on the other. So I'm just going to file this just enough to take that wood off. And I'm going to smooth it out the whole way down here. Because remember, you can't get in there once the head's on. So the time to do it is now. Okay, so here's hang number 2. Okay, we're going to put it on again. Okay, and it slides on nice and easy right to that point. So now, the side I've gouged out is going to go in there, and the other side that I left cheeky is going to ride up on it, so it's going to twist that head. Let's do a couple more taps. Now, the eyes come through. Okay, but remember, we want to set it right about here. So, we're going to check again. Oh, much better, much better. The blade, it's bang on right now, centered that way. So my head is sitting nice. So I've taken some off this side, left it cheeky here to tip that axe head this way, and it's done it. So now this blade is perfectly aligned with your handle. That's what you want. This blade in line with the handle, toe, heel, and this in line. Let's just check that again. Perfect. Here's my broom way back here. I actually cleaned my shop, so it's moved. Okay, so there's here it is there with the toe and heel. See that? Okay, so it's straight in line that way, which is what we want. Straight in line this way, which is what we want. And if we look again, it's peeling on both sides. So it's peeling on this side, it's peeling on this side. And we know we've got to take it down another inch. So that's good. Now, once you get it hung proud, give a one good solid snap on the top of the handle. And it drives it down in there a ways, and it starts it out of your axe head. Couple taps. Out it comes. Again. Now you let the axe head tell you what has to be done. So it's telling you, I'm biting on the back. I'm biting near the front. Okay, but the cheek is actually pretty clean. And we know it's lined up straight now, so we want it. Now we'll let the axe head tell us exactly what we take off. Okay, so I'll use the spoke shave to take all of this off. I've got to remove a bit more wood on this side than this side. So all I'm going to do is just keep putting the axe head on and off and let it tell me what I need to remove. So I know I've got to take this stuff off, and remember, we've got to go down an inch, and it's gradually going out. So I've got to take it out a little bit farther, which is what I'm doing. So I'm removing all of the drag marks. Same thing here at the back. Remember, it swoops out, so I've got to go back a little bit more till I hit that neck of where the axe head's going to eventually rest. So it comes on there a little bit farther. And then once I do that side, just in case it goes on the whole way this time, I'm going to smooth it all out with my wood file, Nicholson wood file. Make it nice and smooth at the back. There. So this is what it looks like now. Okay, it's nice and smooth the whole way down there, rounded off nice. Okay, now we got to do this side where it was dragging. You can see the black drag mark. You can see there's nothing on this side now, except right here at the top a little bit, which won't matter. So same thing, spoke shave, and take it off down here, all the way along where that little lip is, and gradually turn it out to the front of the eye. Clean the back a little bit more, so it'll rest on there nice. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to file it nice and smooth. And see, if you do every step along the way properly, all this stuff falls together. If you bought a handle and it's got a twist in it, if your grain's not right, any of those things that you try to improvise on or compromise on, it then makes this a lot harder, because then you can't line your head up with your handle. You can't line the bit up with all that. So if you have straight wood, you make sure your when it comes out the bandsaw, it's still nice and straight. All that stuff stays straight. This part here is a lot easier. Your eye is nice and balanced on your handle. when you know you just got to take the same amount off on both sides, life is a whole lot easier. So this time here, it's going to come on, it's going to slide on, yeah, way down past that now. So this here's where it's at now before I even start tapping, which is what we want. Look at that. Okay, and I've only got to come another 3/4 of an inch. So, a couple more, about a 1/2 inch away now. A little bit of curl back here now, because of course I didn't focus on that. A little bit on the back. Toe, heel, perfectly in line. So everything's sitting nice now. I just have to line this up. Okay, it's pretty close, but again, it's set this way just a little, just a little. So what I'm going to do now is take a little bit more off of this side to bring it back just a little bit so it's straight in line with the handle. Very easy to take off now. I'll actually poke it once and it'll come right out. Almost out. Wiggle, wiggle. There we go. So again, you can see where it's dragging on that side and on this side. But remember, we want to take a little bit more off on this side. So I'm going to just use a file over here. Again, so right up on that side. I'm going to use a spoke shave here to bring it down. And of course, that's going to tip my head this way. And I just want it a little bit more so it's straight in line with the handle. So this side is I'm just using my file. Just to remove that little bit of burr. There, so it can ride up. This side's all done now. That's all I did for that side, and it's ready to go. This side here, I'm going to use this spoke shave and take a little bit more off. So it's getting a little bit cheeky back here. I can see that, which is why it's riding up a little bit. Not a problem. So we're just going to take that down. And again, I'm not being aggressive, okay? But I do need to take it down, the spoke shave, the whole way along that surface to tip that blade just a little bit. There, now it's gone. And there's a little bit of roll at the back as well, where I know I'm getting fatter. So I've taken that off. Now I go to the rasp, or the wood file. The same thing, smooth it all out. So this is a Walters, hanging a Walters axe. How appropriate is that? Nice old Walters and Campbell's broad axes. Some of the nicest axes that were ever made in this neck of the woods. There we go. So it'll slide on now. Yeah, quite a ways. There we go. So you see how far down that is now. Okay, and we just want to bring it that extra little 1/2 inch. So we're just going to tap it gently. And we're there. All right, so heel toe is right in line, beautiful. Check this way, and we brought it right back where we should have. Okay, and the handle is lying. Okay. So this is probably a good example. Look at my eye and look at the wood. Okay, you see the space over here? All right. Now I'm not worried about that because when I wedge it, the wedge is going to take up that slack. But that's why I say sometimes don't worry about the kerf, because what you want to do, you want to make sure the head is aligned with your handle. Right? That's what you want to line it up with. So when I look down that, it's nice and straight, but I do have to, when I was shaping my handle, I've actually left a little bit more on this side. So now when I go back, I'm going to actually finish this handle up. I'm going to take a little bit more off of this side to put the entire handle straight in line with that bit. All right. So from here on, it's pretty simple. All I'm going to do is wedge it. I don't glue my wedges. Some guys do. I like gluing their wedges and popping them in. This wood, I don't know whether my moisture meter is going to work or not. Okay, it's on, and my moisture meter says, okay, I'm at 9% moisture. Okay, so this is a great little rig. tells you 9% moisture. So they're pretty inexpensive. So 6% would be ideal. 9% is great. I don't start using my wood until it's about 12 to 16% moisture. But 9%, there's not going to be a whole lot more shrinkage, but there will be a little. So the problem is, if I have 9% moisture and I wedge this, and then it drops down to 6%, I'm going to have another 3% shrinkage. So when that happens, if I've glued it, I can't drive my wedge in farther. So what I would do is actually just insert the wedge. Now, and the other thing I'm going to have to do is bring my kerf down here just a little bit more. Pound that wedge in, and then I'll leave it sticking out. Okay, and once it gets down to 6%, then I drive it in the rest of the way. Don't put your axe heads in a bucket of water to swell them. Okay, I've already talked about that. That's a no-no, huge no-no. So always wedge entirely with wood if you can. Then, if it comes loose, tap it a little bit more and then use your metal wedge. Okay, if you're going to use a metal wedge, use it when your axe becomes a little bit loose, when your head becomes a little bit loose on the handle. When that happens, I usually take a file like this, and I'll set it on top of the wedge and then pound that wedge in a little bit more so it's nice and tight. Once you tighten the wedge a second time, then take your cross wedge, your metal cross wedge or the rounded ones, and drive those in, and you should never have a problem with that again. All right, so I know the other thing I probably should do is do a little bit on filing as well. So that's number 2. It's a lot longer than I expected, guys. Sorry, it's 42 minutes. But, and gals that are watching. So I'll just take this out, and all I'm going to do is finish that handle. You've watched me enough to show you how to hang a smaller axe head. This is a Walters, 2.5 pounder. It's a beautiful little axe. And anyways, that's it from the old East Coast Lumberjack. So maybe I'll show a double bitter next time, how we hang a double bitter, because I do have a brand spanking new to a tie in here, and I can show you how to do that one. Throw an axe. East Coast Lumberjack signing off.